Hi guys, it's Heather with Burning with Scissors, and today we want to give you a new tutorial on some painting techniques and how to paint pretty much any of our laser signs or tier tray kits, anything like that. But really today we wanted to focus on how to paint an engraved sign without getting paint into all of these areas here, and also how to make these areas look a lot darker, this engraved. So right now you can see that engraved is just the burned wood. The laser focuses on that area a little bit longer and burns it a little bit slower and deeper. And generally we would leave that like that and just paint this top area. So we're going to show you a couple ways that you can do this. Melissa and I just figured out a different way to do this. And so we want to share that with you today and a few other things. So let's get going. So we're going to do two of these little address signs, and these go on our new little houses. So we have those little 5 houses that snap into the bases, and we have a couple different designs you can choose from. They're pretty cool, but we want to show you how to paint these and keep this engraved area looking great. So the first way I'm going to show you is the traditional way that we taught you to do them, which is a little difficult, but with a little practice and going a little bit slower, you will be able to do this. So let me show you. All right, so first we're just going to start with our white wedge, which is, this is what we paint with on most signs. And I'm dipping that, let me show you. I just have my paint on a paper plate, and I'm dipping my wedge into the paint, and I'm pouncing enough because I want to move that paint up into the wedge. But I don't want, this is what I don't want. I don't want a pool of paint on my wedge. So I'm just pouncing until that paint is moving up into the sponge, and then the surface of the wedge is nice and clean. All right. I don't want a ton of paint on this. That's the trick, not a ton of paint. So let's do the traditional way first. So with that, we're just taking whatever color we want this sign to be. In this case today, it's Blue Willow. And I'm going to very, very lightly pounce on this. I'm not pushing my sponge down very deep at all. All I'm doing is pouncing the surface to transfer the paint from the sponge to the wood. Now, if I pounce too hard, I'm just gonna fill that engraved area with the paint. It's already gonna get a little bit of the paint in there. All right, so we will let that dry, and then we would put another coat on that. And I'm just gonna run the hairdryer for a second to get it dry real quick, and you can do this also. Now you can tell your paint is dry when you hold it up to the light, and if it looks shiny, then it's still wet, but if it's got like just a matte finish to it, then it's dry. Now you don't ever want to put a second coat on while it's still wet, because all you're going to do is pull up the wet paint, and then it makes a blotchy look, and really there's no way to fix that. So just be patient. Okay, again, I reloaded my sponge up a little bit and pounced it off. I don't have a ton of paint on that, just very light. And once again, I'm just going to put one more coat, just very lightly pouncing to get the coverage that I want. All right, and there we go. All right, so you can see you still got the paint or the engraved look there without the paint filling. Now, I want to show you a little trick that you could do if you got a little bit of paint in one of the numbers on accident. Now, it's not the best fix, but it is a little bit of a fix. So let me just get some paint into one of those engraved areas, just like that on the 2. I'm going to take this, it's like a needle. You can get these at the dollar store, and I am just going to scrape that paint out of there. Now you could use a safety pin, you could use a toothpick, you could use a sewing needle. Now, not the best fix, but it will get that paint out of there for you. All right. Okay, so let's see the other way to get this engraved darker. All right, now I'm going to take a wedge again, and this time I'm going to pounce it into my black paint. and our heater just kicked on, our furnace, so it's gonna be loud for a bit. Sorry about that. All right, so now I'm gonna take my wedge dipped in black paint, and again, no paint on the pooled on the surface of the wedge, is all worked up into the sponge. And I'm gonna paint the entire thing. And this time I'm gonna push my sponge down into those engraved areas. So those engraved areas are getting filled with my paint. Now, when I say filled, I don't mean that the whole entire number is filled with paint. What I mean is that I'm pushing my sponge down deep enough that I'm coating that area with a coat of paint. It's not pooling in there, it's soaking into the wood. All right, let me see if I can show you that. All right, just like that. So the whole entire thing is covered. All right, now one coat should be enough. So I'm gonna try it again. Okay, so here we go. Now we're gonna paint on the top color. Let's change it up just for funsies. Let's give it a different color. I'm gonna go with Island Breeze today on this one. Okay, so again, I've got my sponge, got it loaded with some paint. It doesn't have a ton of paint on the surface of it. Okay. Again, just very, very lightly. I'm gonna pounce over top of it. Okay, and there we go. Now you, of course, would finish and it needs 2 coats and all of that, but you don't want to sit here and watch me do all of that. But I am going to show you with this tool again. These lines are so fine. Almost on faux shiplap, it will be very hard to avoid getting all paint in it, no paint at all. So just take a needle, a pin, a thumbtack, a toothpick, something with a very sharp edge to it, and just run it through there and scrape that paint out. And because we painted this black first, these lines are all nice and dark. Now, not all of them need to be scraped, not at all, but it only takes a second. Okay, so much darker than just leaving it burned, leaving it engraved. And just take a pin if you get any paint in there and get it off. It's a lot easier than taking a brush and trying to paint inside these. That would almost never work. You just don't have steady enough hand to do that. It's just unrealistic. So paint it dark first and then just very, very lightly go over the top of it with a different color. This will need 2 coats. Again, this is not finished. Okay, so if you want to darken these letters up, instead of just leaving them the engrave or the burn engrave that the laser does them, just fill them with black with your sponge first, just very little paint, and you're gonna just pounce that paint right into there. Okay, so all of this is dry, our base coat of black that we filled in all the engraving with. So now we're going to take our wedge that's loaded up with paint, no pool on that at all, and we're just going to very, very lightly go over the top, taking care that we're not pressing down. We don't want to push any of the paint from the sponge into those engraved areas. There's the top of this A hit a little bit. There we go. All right, so that's what that looks like. Okay. All right, so remember, this is what it looked. This was our first one where we didn't color that backer in with any kind of paint at all. We just left it and lightly went over it. And that's that one. And then here's where we painted it black. And then on this one too, we painted it black as well. All right, if you have any questions when you go to paint your sets, or if you have more questions on the Engrave or how to put them together, make sure you just message us, okay? We do have some other videos uploaded that may be of help to you when you paint as well. All right, guys, thank you.